If you refresh the page now, what do you see? I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh no, wait, Q&A live. Printer.
Cool. Testing. All right, so I'm totally new to this whole Google Hangout on air thing, so bear with me as I get started. It looks like you can ask questions, and I'll be happy to answer questions as we're rolling along. Don't feel that you need to wait till the end. All right, so I'm going to jump right to my slides. All right. So, yes, I can see your question, whoever just did that. All right, so here's tonight's agenda. I'm going to talk real quick about the 3D printing workflow and what you should know about that. There seems to be a lot of confusion out there about what software works with what printers. And so I'm just going to take you through that process. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what to look for when you're shopping for a 3D printer for your school or your education space. When I'm looking for a 3D printer in our tech center, it's not the same things that I'm looking for in for a 3D printer that I want to use at home. There is a little bit of overlap, but not all the time. I'll also address the topic of safety, which seems to come up a lot with educators. You know, they want to protect their students from hurting themselves. Then I'll review a few printers. And then I'll also talk about some common tools and supplies that you'll need even after you've made that expensive purchase for the printer. There's still a few add-ons that you're going to need to really make your space effective. So who am I, or who are we? I usually do presentations with my wife. So we have a combined slide. We also have a combined email address. So I'm Sean Grimes. I'm a technologist. I was a former app developer, former author, information security specialist, web developer, and now I'm the director of technology for the Digital Harbor Foundation. And the title that I most align with now these days is Maker. My Twitter handle is there at Sean G. Feel free to follow or ask me questions. So as I mentioned, I work for the Digital Harbor Foundation. The Digital Harbor Foundation focuses on three main topics. We have a tech center where we run youth programs after school and over the summer teaching technology. We also do a lot of community events, and that includes like family make nights where families come in once a month and work on maker projects together. We also support a lot of local developer meetup groups and professional technology groups. And then we have our Center of Excellence, which is meant to support educators looking to do maker activities and technology education in their space. So like I said, the Tech Center focuses mainly on youth. We have after school and summer programs for youth everywhere from first grade to 12th grade, which gives us a chance to practice with a lot of different technologies. The Center of Excellence is where we get to work with other educators. It's one part workshop and training and professional development, and then one part cohort and collaboration, where other maker and technology teachers get to come together, share ideas, brainstorm solutions for problems that they've run into, and build a relationship with other teachers and educators focused on maker and technology activities. So I want to talk about the 3D printing workflow real quick. So this confuses a lot of people. So this confuses a lot of people because they worry that whatever printer they buy, the software that they use won't work with it. So I get a lot of questions of, okay, so you recommend this printer, but will Tinkercad work with that? Will 123D Design work with that? Will insert Rhino 3D work with that printer? And the short answer for like 99% of those questions is yes. So mainly when you're talking about that area of software or those types of software, you're in the design software. The design software area of our workflow. So that's up top here. Now, as you move down, you'll move into the slicing software, and that's usually where the printer software starts to, you guys aren't seeing this. Oh. Let me move this here. Un momento, por favors. Okay, let's see if this shows up this time. So we have the design software there, and that's where your Tinkercad, your 123D designs, your Rhino 3Ds, that's where all of that's happening, and it's happening at a high level. And then your workflow goes down into the slicing software and the repair software. And that again is just another type of middleware. Most printers will support many different types of slicing software, or they'll have their own. So you really don't need to concern yourself with that too much. And then finally down here is the actual printer software, and that's the software that controls the printer. So if we're talking up here, the biggest thing with your design software is that you want to make sure that it exports an STL. Okay. And if it does that, then it's going to work on almost every printer. In fact, every printer I've come in contact with in my 18 months of using 3D printers with youth. This is very similar to using Word or Excel on your computer and then sending it to the printer. The printer really doesn't care what format the document was created in. It just needs to know how to print it. And so again, if you do the STL, you're good on all fronts. Okay. No, my screen went to sleep. Sorry. I don't know if you're still hearing this, but my screen went to sleep, which means my computer crashed. So reboot. All right, I have no idea if this is going to recover, but we're going to give it a try. Okay, let's go back to our slide deck. All right, cool. So hopefully this works. So what to look for, what you should be looking for when you're buying a 3D printer. And these are the things that I look for before I really consider a 3D printer for our space. And some of them are required, some of them are optional. The first thing that I always look for is auto bed leveling. This is a really big deal to me because it's the, we serve about 30 youth on a given day. And the only way that we can get through all of their prints, and when I say 30 youth on a given day, that means that there's 2 groups of youth, so it's about 100 youth per week. The only way we can get through all of their prints is by having 3D printers that are super reliable and that once we clear the bed, they can start the next print right away. I find that with a lot of printers that you have to level yourself, you run into issues where the bed becomes unlevel as soon as the youth remove them. And even if you're the only one doing it, just if a print is really stuck to the bed and you're like working at it to peel it off, it's going to really get stuck on there, and it'll warp your bed or just tweak it enough to throw it off for the next print. And then you're spending your time really leveling beds more than you are printing. So I'll show you an example of what 3D printing. Oh, crap. So let me see if I can show an example of what bed leveling does. As soon as I can find the YouTube app. if we take a look at this this video, and they're in the showcase side too, you can see this really warped bed, and then you can see that it's actually printing just fine on there. It doesn't matter how crooked the bed is. The auto bed leveling basically adjusts the print so that it'll print no matter what tilt the bed is on. And this is really important to me. It's one of the main things that I look for. It's really hard for me to decide to use a 3D printer that doesn't have auto bed leveling these days. The heated bed is something that I like to have. It's not a requirement per se, but it is really nice to have. It helps prevent prints from peeling up. So if you have a print with a lot of surface area on the bottom, they have a tendency over time to pull up from the bed. And then this will really mess up your prints later on in the process. So heated beds are nice. You absolutely have to have a heated bed if you want to use ABS filament. Now, a good alternative for not having a heated bed but still using PLA is either some really good blue tape or Aquanet hairspray, believe it or not. Okay. Real quick, I wanted to talk about some safety concerns that people have. So first off, filaments. There's a lot of different types of filaments, and these two are the most popular or most common right now. PLA filament, it's food safe, it's non-toxic, and it's made from corn. It's also biodegradable. Now, the merits of its biodegradedness vary. If it goes to a regular landfill, it takes just as long as regular plastic bags. But in the right environment with the right bacteria, it's reduced down to hydrogen and oxygen within 45 to 90 days, which is really cool. But not a lot of people are recycling their PLA right now. I think it'll be something that becomes a lot more popular in the future. But for me right now, what I like about it is that it's non-toxic so that my youth can use it. I've had 6- and 7-year-olds putting some of their 3D printed parts in their mouths. And I like knowing that that's okay. The other nice thing is that as it melts, it smells like syrup. So one night I accidentally left a printer on overnight and it smelled like waffles the next morning. That wasn't that bad of a thing. Now, ABS is the other common filament. It's made from petroleum. So it does give off some toxic fumes. It's fine in a well-ventilated area. If you have a classroom with a window, open the window and put a fan there. It's very similar to using like a styrofoam wire cutter. You just want to make sure there's a lot of ventilation. But for me, I personally just avoid ABS. The other common question is people want enclosures. Oh, well, this printer doesn't have a case around it. I work with our 3D printers are in spaces with first graders. The only person who's ever been burned by a 3D printer is me. And that's because I was working on it and being a dummy. But I find that 3D printers are just like scissors. If you tell kids how to use them the right way or tell them what parts are dangerous, they tend to stay away from them. And if you do get a 3D printer that doesn't have a case, you can real easily, find a big cardboard box and stick it over it, or build yourself an enclosure out of plexiglass. And that's going to cost you $25, $30 versus paying an extra $500 for a printer that comes in a case. All right, so now's when I want to do some reviews of some printers we've used in our spaces. And just give you an idea of what I like, what we're currently recommending to other educators, and why. So the PRINTRBOT Simple Metal. This is an amazing printer. It's $600. You can get it on Amazon Prime, which means you can get like next day shipping. It comes out of the box assembled. It does auto leveling. It's that feature that I have to have. there's not a heated bed on the stock one. You can add it onto the printer. It'll end up costing you like an extra 130 or 150 bucks. I'm currently testing one with testing a heated bed with one of our with my personal printer actually, and we have about 7 or 8 of these at the tech center. This is our primary little printer, and when I say little, it does about 6 inches cubed, which is a pretty decent size especially for the price. I really like these because they're super reliable with that auto leveling probe. There were some issues in the beginning of the summer with the probes. They've since worked that out. It would just happen to be where they were sourcing their probes from. But now we have very little trouble with them. You know, I can pretty much guarantee that the printer will print on the first try, or the second try. This is one of the few printers that I'll do a live demo with. In fact, we just got back from a 3-week road trip. I had my PRINTRBOT Simple in the back of the Jeep the entire trip, and whenever I pulled it out, it printed like a charm, which is pretty crazy. So next up, I like the Affinia. I really do. It does have the auto leveling. Oh, it does have a heated bed. That's a bad slide. I'll have to fix that. It does have a heated bed, which is nice. It's a little bit smaller than the PRINTRBOT Simple. So in this scenario, you're trading off the heated bed for a little bit more than double the price. What I will say about the Affinia is that hands down, it produces some of the highest quality prints that I've seen across all printers. With that though, it's, how high is good enough, especially if you're working with youth. A lot of these aren't going to be prints that are going to be, sold in a store or anything like that. So, there's a trade-off there. But I really do like the Affinia. It has great quality. I wish either the price would come down or the size would get bigger. Those are my only 2 hangups there. So the MAKERBOT Replicator 2. Now, the new generation of MAKERBOTs are out, and I haven't personally worked with any of those. I've only worked with this model here. So it runs at about $2,000. There's no auto leveling. There's no heated bed. The bed size is considerably larger than the 2 previous printers that I mentioned. And this is actually not a printer I recommend. I just wanted to have it in here to talk about it a little bit. So one issue that I have with this printer is that the bed warps a lot, or at least it did with us. So we've replaced the acrylic bed twice now in our MAKERBOT Replicator 2. And what happens is as you're pulling prints off of there, basically the acrylic just, kind of bends just a little bit, and you kind of get this wobble. It warped within about 3 months of use. The second one warped as well. And so now it's just sitting under a table collecting dust. We're probably going to part it out for some of the motors and stuff. But what I really don't like is that, it was $2,000 and it doesn't have the auto leveling. It doesn't have the heated bed, and it's broke. So I'm not a real big fan. I have not used the 5th generation ones, but I've been at a few events where the 5th generations, are at tables a few tables down from us. And I will say that our PRINTRBOT Simples will print all day long, and their 5th gen MAKERBOTs usually crap out after about 90 minutes of use, and then they spend the rest of the day tweaking the bed leveling and things like that. So that's my thing, is that I can buy 2, 3 PRINTRBOT Simples for the same price as the MAKERBOT, and if one of those Simples goes down, I still have a backup or 2. So the PRINTRBOT Simples are really small, but for big printers, I really like the LULZBOT TAS 4. So this is our big printer in our space. Like I said, we have about 8 PRINTRBOT Simples, and then we have 1 big printer, and it's this TAS 4 guy. So a lot of times the youth will prototype and do work on the smaller printer, and then once they've gotten a print design ready and they want it to be bigger, then we'll do a one-off on the big one. It doesn't have auto leveling, which is kind of a bummer for me. I am working on actually modifying ours so that it does have bed leveling, but that's not something that everyone's going to be doing. I do know that their new version will have bed leveling. I'm not sure when that's set to come out, but I've seen it. It's really cool the way they do the bed leveling. And I will say that once we leveled our bed, we've had it now for about 4 or 5 months, and I've never had to level it a second time, which is pretty crazy. They use a glass bed with a metal base instead of acrylic, which I think tends to hold up a little bit more. You also notice that the size of the print is huge. It's like a 12-inch cubed print area, which is pretty massive. And it's $2,000. I know they have an educational discount, which I think takes it down under $2,000. So it's really a great deal. It's a great printer. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to talk about real quick was that I did mention that there's some software that is used on the printers to actually print your items. It's not what you design it in. That doesn't matter. But actually printing your items. Out of these 4 printers, MAKERBOT, hands down, has some of the best desktop software. There's no doubt. So you are paying a little bit of money for their better software, but the better software doesn't matter if the printer is not actually working. The Affinia has really nice software as well. So, that might be worth a little bit more money. Again, I wish the size was a little bit bigger though. The PRINTRBOT Simple and the Taz, they both recommend using the same software, and I actually disagree with what they recommend. There's a software that I like called Matter Control, which I think is in my slide deck at the end. Nope. But it's free, and it works with both the PRINTRBOT Simple and Taz 4, and it's very easy to use. In fact, it's one of my favorite pieces of software now. Don't be too afraid from the software that they recommend. It works great with Matter Control, which is free. All right. So now I want to talk about, you got this nice printer in, you're ready to start printing. What are you going to need to actually work with it? So you're going to need a set of digital calipers. I recommend about a 6-inch or 150 millimeter set. I like the digital ones. And this is really what, if your youth are going to be creating any sort of objects that need to be an exact dimension or an exact size or a good fit, this is what they're going to be using to recreate that. Forget about 3D scanning objects and thinking that you're going to be able to create a replica. It's not going to happen, not for small objects. Instead, you're going to be using calipers to measure everything. You're also going to use these for calibrating your printer. You can get a great set for like $12, either from Harbor Freight or Amazon. You're also going to need some wire snips. You're going to use these for cutting different pieces of filament to put into your printer, and also kind of cutting some of the cleaning up your prints, cutting off some of the remnants. You can get these again for less than $10 off of Amazon. Get yourself a good selection of Torx screwdriver set. Phillips are also nice. This is a model I like, the Boxer. $15 off of Amazon. Using some needle nose pliers for, getting some hard to reach filament out of the gears, but also removing material from finished prints. Okay, so this one is one of my favorite tools and is an absolute must-have. It's a craft spatula. So Cricut used to make this green-handled one that was awesome. They now have a new one that I think has a white handle. It's been okay, but I really like the green ones. They're about $10, and they're perfect for removing prints from your platform. Sometimes your prints will stick. The craft spatula has just the right thinness and dexterity to actually pry the print off. So craft spatula from Cricut, fantastic tool. We have, I don't know how many at the tech center. So blue painter's tape. You'll use this for keeping your prints attached to your bed if you don't have a heated bed. My first choice is actually the Ace Hardware brand, not the Scotch or the 3M brands. My second choice is this Scotch. It's got a green label. It's for specifically baseboards, metal, and glass. Those are the two that you're actually looking for. This can also help protect your bed from your spatula. It can also help you remove prints easier because instead of being stuck to the actual bed, they're stuck to the tape. And the wider the tape you can get, the better. If you can find it in 2-inch, that's going to be great. Stay away from like the 1/4-inch or 1/2-inch stuff. So this is something that I wish someone would have told me when I got started 3D printing, is get yourself some shelf liner and put it underneath your 3D printer. It's going to help protect your table, but also keep your printer from vibrating off the table. Sometimes these printers can, really work up some momentum and some vibrations, moving the head back and forth really quickly. I almost lost 2 printers because they wobbled almost off the table. One of the kids grabbed it and protected the first one, and then the second one I got to in time. So yeah, get yourself some shelf liner. It's not that hard. So yeah, here's some places to buy. I love Amazon. I get everything from Amazon, but Harbor Freight is a good option too. Harbor Freight sells like really cheap tools. They're not going to be great quality, but in a classroom setting, it's okay because you're probably going to break a few sets of tools for a while anyway. All right, so the trick with filament, and I get asked this question a lot too, is can you buy filament from other vendors and will it work in my printer? So the only thing you have to worry about when buying filament is what thickness it is. And it usually comes in 1.75 or 3 millimeter. Most printers these days are 1.75. The only one that's 3 millimeter is the Taz, which is a downside to it. But there's kits that you can get to convert it to 1.75, which you can actually do yourself. And then you want to make sure that it's either PLA or ABS, whatever your printer takes. Most printers will take PLA, no problem. So if you can, steer towards that, great. So Matter Hackers is one of my favorite places to buy filament, and it's just matterhackers.com. Do stick with their pro brand though. Their non-pro brand I've just had some inconsistency with that I haven't been happy. Their pro brand has been pretty consistent and works really well. You'd be surprised how much good filament makes a difference in a good quality print. Again, I get the 1.75 PLA, and I like to shop the clearance area. So here's a tip for you as well. If you buy white filament, your kids can paint it or color it with markers, Sharpies, or fingernail polish or acrylic paints. So if you buy white, they can paint it whatever colors they want. You don't have to go crazy and get all these colors. And in fact, it's going to be a pain in the butt for you to swap colors. If you let every kid pick what color they want, it's a nightmare. So MICROCENTER is another place that I love to get filament. You can pick it up in person. They have a couple different brands. And I found it on sale for $17.99. I went this weekend. I found it for $15.99, so I picked up 4 rolls. At that price, it's worth trying. So the MAKERBOT filament it's more expensive, but the quality is really nice. Again, you can get this on sale at MICROCENTER rather than having to pay for shipping from MAKERBOT if you have a MICROCENTER near you. But they have some really great colors and some really great quality. So Amazon's another great place to, shop for everything, but filament. The one thing I have found is that there's a brand called SaneSmart. I have not had really good luck with their filament. It just seems really crappy. Like it oozes, it pops. I just haven't had really good luck. One brand that I have had good luck with though is Octave. And I think you can even get the MAKERBOT filament on there by now. But the important thing to realize is that you don't have to use the filament that your printer provider sells. So, you You don't have to buy filament only from PRINTRBOT or MAKERBOT or Finia or LULZBOT. So just keep that in mind. All right, so that wraps things up for me. There is my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Oh, great, and I'm actually going to answer some of the questions now. So Manuel asked, is there a difference in quality, and will printers use both PLA and ABS? So most printers that have a heated bed will use both PLA and ABS. Printers that do not have a heated bed will only use PLA. If you're asking a difference in quality with the printers, no. Those 4 printers that I listed, they have no difference in quality. They all go down to the same level, which is like 0.1 millimeters. Quite frankly, in our space, we don't print anything below like 0.2 millimeters because it takes so much longer. I mean, you're talking about tripling the time going from 0.1 to 0.3 layer thickness. What makes a bigger difference in quality is actually the filament. If you get a good brand of filament, you get the right temperature on it, you can get amazing prints. And of course, the converse is true if the temperature's wrong or it's just bad filament, you can get some pretty bad prints. All right, so if there are not any more questions, let me see if there was anything in the chat. Oh. Okay, great. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you found this useful. Feel free to share it out. One thing I will promote is we do have a Google group that's specifically for 3D printers for educators. I spend a lot of time in there trying to answer questions. We've just spun it up after the end of the summer. You could share your own experiences or ask questions, but feel free to contact me either on Twitter or through email, and I'll be happy to help you time permitting. All right, have a great night, everyone. See ya.